Hi there, this is Paul Klowinski in the School of Biological Sciences at the University of Oklahoma. Today, I want to make a short video about how your computer addresses information. Whenever you're working in R, one of the most common errors that students get while we're doing live coding in class is an error that appears as object not found. And when you see object not found, what R is basically telling you is that you've asked it to go looking for something and it can't find it. Literally, object not found. And in some cases, it's because you've made a typing error. And so you've asked it to find something, but you've misspelled the thing that you're asking it to find. But oftentimes, it results from the fact that you're asking for something that is on your computer, but you're asking R to find it in a room in your computer where it doesn't exist. So knowing a little bit about how your computer is organized internally is useful. So think about addressing in a computer much like addressing in the United States. So imagine that I live at 1911 Virginia Avenue in Norman, Oklahoma. This is how you would write your address if you were addressing a letter to be sent somewhere. But when the post office processes this, it doesn't start with the first line, which is the street number and the street. It actually starts with the zip code. So it starts at a broader geographic area and then slowly narrows it down. It goes from zip code to Virginia Avenue to 1911. And so one way to think about the addressing system of your computer is to think about if you were giving directions to an alien from outer space, how would you tell them to find you? Well, the first thing that you would do is you would point them to your solar system. That's a really broad geographic space. Then you would say, okay, go to the third planet in terms of distance from the sun in the solar system. And then once at that planet, you will see that there are a bunch of large land masses. You want to go to the North American landmass. And then within that North American landmass, you might see that near the center of the landmass, there are political boundaries. And that one political boundary that looks like a pot is Oklahoma. And so you would want to zoom in on Oklahoma. Then in Oklahoma, you would zoom in even further and you would get to Norman. And once you're in Norman, you would zoom in even further and you would go a little bit east of campus and you would find this is Lindsay Street, this is Virginia Street, and then you would go up Virginia Street until you get to 1911 Virginia Street. Wait, that's 1805. Oh, no, that's 1805. Here's 1911 right here. And so you basically go from a place where you're at the broadest geographic area and you slowly narrow in the locality until you end up at the address. Well, a similar thing happens in your computer. And you might not be able to see this. So this is my screen and it's kind of cluttered right now, but up here in the upper right hand corner, you can see that I have this thing called Macintosh HD. This is my office computer and that is literally just an image of a hard drive like you would find inside of a computer, probably back circa late 1990s. That's what the image looks like. If you go down here, if you're on a Mac, you can find the Finder in your menu bar down here. And once again, the Finder is just a way of finding things on your computer. And so in this, it actually doesn't show you all of the structure of your computer because it's just looking within your user group. So one of the things that you might want to do is you might want to make your hard drive visible to you. Now, most computer companies don't want you to do this because it gives you access to places that they don't want you to go because you can mess things up. But when we think about the addressing system of our files on our computer, you have to start at the largest geographic space. And the largest geographic space of your computer is your hard drive. And so this is the hard drive. And then this is the network, which is broader than your computer. And then this is just a little temporary directory for downloading and installing RStudio, which I updated yesterday. So within your hard drive basically has a geographic space on it, and that hard drive is partitioned into a section for applications where you keep all of your applications that run your computer, allow you to do things like sending email and doing Word documents and things like this. You have a library, which once again is the place where all of the associated information that goes along with those applications is found, things like Java, etc. You have system folders, which basically run your computer. You do not want to go into the system area. And then you have users. And for this computer, I basically have a user space for guest, a user space for myself, and then some other user spaces that have to do with OU's IT people. And so within this Macintosh hard drive, there is a section specified for users, and then there is a section of the computer that is specified to Paul Klawinski specifically as part of the user space. And then within this, I do a lot of my work within Dropbox. So on my computer, I have a Dropbox folder that is resident on my computer that also syncs up to a cloud account in Dropbox that I have. And depending upon what the information is, some things are only available on the cloud, other things are both available on the cloud, and they are located on my computer as well. For this class, I have a folder, Biology 2913, and within this folder, I have all sorts of stuff. One of the things that I have in here are our projects. One of the first art projects that we're going to work on is the card drawing project, which is in the folder card draw. And for whatever reason, the things that need to be in there are not in there, but I can drag them in there. So I'm just basically moving two files, a R Markdown file and a HTML file into this directory. So if I go to this R Markdown file, I can right click on that. And what I can do is I can go to Get Info. And when I go to Get Info, it opens up this pane here, this drop down box. And one of the things that I can find in here is in general. And in this general section here, there is a section called Where that I've just highlighted in blue. And what this basically is doing is it's telling me where on my computer is this file held. And it's on the hard drive. It's in the user space. It's in the P. Klawinski user space. Within that user space, it is in the Dropbox folder. Within the Dropbox folder, there is a folder for Biology 2913. Within that folder, there is a folder for our projects. And within that folder, that is where my file is found. This is referred to as the path. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to bring it over here and I'm going to put it in this Word file that we just looked at. And so this is basically the address in much the same way that the Virginia Avenue address is here. Card draw is essentially 1911 on Virginia Avenue, which is our projects, in Norman, Oklahoma, which is all of this other stuff that narrows down the geographic location. And it's listed from broadest geographic division of your hard drive down to the narrowest. And so this is the path that you can follow to get to where card draw is. It's in the user folder, in the Paul Klawinski user, in the Dropbox folder of Paul Klawinski, in the class folder, in the art projects folder. That's where the file is found. Now I'm going to go here and I'm going to open up the card draw R Markdown file. It's going to open automatically in RStudio. The reason that opens automatically in RStudio, let's go back to the Get Info pane here. When we look at the Get Info pane, once again, we can see that there is a section that says Open With, and I have my thing set so that it will open with RStudio any file that is an R Markdown file. So I have that just set as a default, and this is where you can do that. And you can make it do that for all of the files on your computer. If it's an R Markdown file, it's going to open it with RStudio. So when I open this file up in RStudio, you can see that RStudio has these 4 panes. Sometimes when you open up RStudio, it'll look like this. It'll just show you the console in the left-hand portion here. You can just click this button there and it will show you the workspace. And so RStudio is divided up into 4 different segments. One segment is your workspace. Second segment is the console where your code is executed. Then there's an environment and history section, and then there's a place where you can find files and plots, and packages, and things like this. And so one of the first things that I do when I open up an R script is I go and get the working directory. So I ask the computer, where are you operating out of? And it gives me this path. It returns this path to me, which is the same path that we just looked at a few minutes ago. Let me make this a little bigger so you can see it. It returns this path. Users, Peak Lewinsky, Dropbox, class folder, R projects, card draw. That's the physical location where carddraw.rmd is located. If you ever get a object not found error, one of the things that you want to do is you want to use the command getwd, which just stands for get working directory, to tell you where it is in your computer that you're operating from. Because chances are you're operating R out of your applications folder or something like this, and you're asking it to go and get something that is in some different part of your computer's memory landscape, and it can't find it because you're asking R to look for it in the applications folder, and it's actually in your class folder. If you want to do that, you can either close down R and then open up your script or your markdown file from wherever you're at, or you can use the set working directory command, and then you can go and find your folder or find your file, and then find the path to that file, and then plunk that path into that space, and then that command basically sets the working directory for this particular script as the working directory that contains the file that you're working with. And so spend a little time exploring your computer's memory space, and I've provided you something on Canvas, how to get to know your computer exercise that walks you through some of this stuff. It walks you through a bunch of other stuff as well. But this is one of the most common issues that we have in class, is people not being able to find files because they're telling the computer to look for them in a place where they don't occur. And so hopefully this will solve some of those issues. Hopefully you found this useful, and I will see you in class.